The two are not related.
The two are not related. Fair enough. I'm just
so that we are clear.
Chronological order of what's happened with Mr. Gandhi over the last couple of weeks. I want, first of all, your reaction to the disqualification and what the opposition is saying that, look, this sort of proves what we've been saying all along. The Modi government is illiberal. It's an electoral autocracy. Opposition's not being allowed to talk. How would you respond to them?
So let's assume I have a counterpart or a colleague, or I go abroad and somebody asks me what you're asking. How would I put it? I mean, that's essentially what you're asking me. I guess I would say that 4 years ago, Rahul Gandhi was disparaging of a community in a public meeting. It's not me saying it, it's on record. A member of that community took offense and began legal proceedings. Rahul Gandhi had an opportunity of rectifying the situation, of expressing regret. He chose not to do so. The legal proceedings then produced an outcome. The outcome triggered a law which I would remind you Rahul Gandhi himself had in a way supported some years ago. A law that has been applied, I think, to about 10, 12 other elected representatives, including of the ruling party. So my answer to somebody who asked me this would be the law is the law. Unless somebody thinks the law is not the law for them. I mean, that's...
Okay. Has anybody asked you this? Have any foreign diplomats or governments asked you this? But if they do, this would be your answer.
I'm practicing it on you, and if there is a...
Nice to know that you've equated me to a foreign diplomat. But let's, because the reason I ask you this is because there are ramifications of what he's saying and the narrative that the opposition wants to build. You have been vehemently opposing that narrative that's been constructed, some of which has been fed into by some sections of the Western press, that, since 2014, India has become an illiberal country, an electoral autocracy. You don't fear that this actions of the last 10 days or so feed into that narrative?
Look, my sense is those who are feeding that narrative, are people with an agenda. They're not stupid people, okay? So they will misrepresent facts, or they would, twist things, because it's part of developing a narrative. I'll give you some examples. If you look at some of these think tanks and reports which would come out, many of them would suggest to you as though there's a whole problem around Assam, which started with Narendra Modi as Prime Minister. Okay, you and I know it goes back to Indira Gandhi's time. But that's not the way the narrative is now, the sleight of hand which happens. They would say, that a former Chief Justice now entering Parliament is somehow not well reflective of the judiciary. They won't tell you it's happened before. And not, So, the beauty of these narratives is, what you shade, what you suppress, what you sharpen, then you stitch it around. Now, yes, for people who do all of this, they would certainly use it. But to which I would turn around and ask them, saying, so tell me, does that mean this law, after being applied to 10 or 12 other people, should not apply in this case? And in this particular case, this law and this application has a certain past.
Yeah.
So I think we need to recognize today that a lot of what passes off as debate, what is often suggested as an analysis of the state of the Indian polity, is actually politics.
It's not analysis, it's more politics.
It is, absolutely.
So you talked about narratives and you gave the example of Assam. Now, one state where there seems to be this narrative and it directly has a bearing on your ministry and the missions abroad is Punjab and this whole Khalistan sentiment. We've had attacks on our missions in London, San Francisco. Yes, diplomats have been summoned, statements have been read out to them, so on and so forth. What else do you intend to do to send out the message that you're playing with India's national security and territorial integrity, and that's unacceptable?
Look, again, because it doesn't fall for a narrative, we must actually look at what are the facts on the ground. So let's look at the facts on the ground in India and let's look at the facts on the ground abroad. The fact on the ground in India is a bunch of people went by force into a police station to take out somebody, which was in violation of probably multiple provisions of the law. So tell me which country would countenance this? Okay, that's the fact within India. So you don't have to put a movement or a ideology to it. I mean, irrespective of whatever the issue. I mean, which law-abiding society would allow a mob to storm a police station and take somebody out? That is the bottom line situation. Now, if you look what's happening abroad, in the name of free speech and democratic freedoms, of which I'm equally a votary, if you allow people to intrude into diplomatic premises, to attack diplomats, to threaten diplomats, to take down flags, I ask you, suppose the roles were reversed.